Ben ritrovati giovedì mattina sul floor del New York Stock Exchange. In questo momento vediamo indici contrastati con lo Standard & Poor's 500 che riesce a sfiorare, ha toccato quest'oggi i 1500 punti, ma parliamo del mercato in generale quest'oggi con la mia ospite qui sul floor, come vedete Doreen Mogavero, che è fondatrice, presidente e amministratore delegato del floor broker Mogavero Lee Co. Doreen, thank you so much for being with us again.
Thank you very much for inviting me.
So Doreen, the market today, we have seen 1,500 for the S&P 500. We're a little bit under that. Even though we had very bad news from Apple that is still having a big effect on NASDAQ, the market is still holding.
Well, I think we've discussed this a couple of times, I guess. But I think that after the election, you know, there's a certain amount of certainty that people have. The election is over. We know the president is the president for another 4 years. All that sort of tumultuous talk is done. Whether we agree or whether we don't, we know the direction that we're going. So that's removed a lot of the uncertainty from the market. So I think that's one thing that's helping to build confidence. The other thing I think is that a lot of people are feeling that the bond market is overdone. People are taking their money out of bonds, putting them into stocks. So I think that's helping the stock market. Economic data does seem to be better. And I think most of the experts globally will say that although we still have a long way to go, we're certainly stabilizing and going in the right direction. So I think when you put all those things together, I think people are feeling a little bit better about the place that we're in the United States. And certainly the multinational companies, the big corporations, still have a few worries in their European sales and things like that. But I think Europe as well, if we're listening to the people in Davos, you know, everybody's feeling that Europe is going in the right direction. Labor market still has a long way to go in Europe, but I think that companies getting their houses in order and banks getting their houses in order is really going along fairly well.
So you think that the market is becoming a little bit more cautiously even optimistic, and you are optimistic too. You sound more optimistic, and you decided to come back to the market after 4 years. That must mean something.
Well, I mean, I think there's a certain amount of having to do that. You know, you need to continue to invest to keep your money growing, and I think that there are. Well, how can I put this so be articulate about it? I think that the baby boomers, a lot of baby boomers, 4 years ago we were worried about baby boomers turning 60, 65, retiring, having to continue to work because they weren't making any money. Today we're looking at baby boomers turning 70 in the next year or two in great numbers. And in the United States, when you turn 70, you have to begin to withdraw your money from your 401ks or your IRAs and start paying taxes on that money. So if people have to do that, if their money is not growing and it's not working, they will be having to remove their principal and paying taxes on that money. So I think people are anxious, as am I to some degree, to get that money to work again, so that when that time comes, I'm not taking out the principal, I'm taking out, you know, the money that my money has made and my principal remains intact. So I think that's part of what's going on here. You know, baby boomers are a huge amount of control on the money that's sitting on the sidelines. So I think that's a lot of it.
So if you decided to come back, probably a lot of people would decide to come back, and maybe we can see more volumes back here at the New York Stock Exchange in general on the market, and maybe more optimism, because yes, it's true that you had to, but at the same time, don't you feel a little bit more optimistic on the market?
Well, I feel more certain about the direction that the country is going. Now, that's not to say I agree with it, or I don't think that we have huge obstacles ahead of us, because I think we still do. But I think you'll see, like in Washington now, we're looking at a debt ceiling. I mean, you know, a month ago we were talking about, oh my God, we're going to have another fight about the debt ceiling. And we've seen now that everybody's sort of settling in and saying, okay, we have to work this out. And although an extension of the debt ceiling is probably not a perfect answer to the problem, it's also a solution. It's some sort of a resolution. There's not that animosity. I think Washington is starting to get it, that people are getting annoyed with all of this arguing and fighting and indecision in D.C. So I think people are going to need to be reelected, and they're going to have to start acting sensibly. So I think if they begin to do that, I think in great part, people will feel a little bit more confident about the direction of the market.
So you don't feel like all this debt ceiling issue will come back in the summer to haunt us, or the sequestration issue that is, the deadline is March 1st. You think that the solution will be reached no matter what?
Well, I definitely think it's going to come back to haunt us. I mean, I'm still not in the same political camp that the president is in, but and I don't think that it's going to. And I think you still have certainly got a risk element involved in the market, but I also think that the approach to the resolutions will be different this time around, because I think the president has won re-election, so it's clear that a lot of the people are happy with the direction of the country. So I think that to that point, the other politicians are going to have to sort of acquiesce if they want to get reelected. I think we need to have some sort of unity in the country. I think people have made it very clear that they're tired of all the arguing, and we've had covers of magazines with Congress in diapers and things like that, babies crying and all the rest of it. So I think it's very clear that people are tired of that, and politicians, if they want to get reelected, have to hear that cry and stop crying. Yeah.
And also we have the role of the Federal Reserve, that we know it has been proved that the Federal Reserve helped the market, and Federal Reserve made it clear is still there to help. So in a way, that also contribute to optimism for investors. Even if we have negative news from the economy that we are not having right now, but even if we have that it's another proof that the Federal Reserve will keep, injecting money.
I think that's true. I mean, I also think that's a problem. Down the road, I think that adds to the problems, but certainly it is a short-term fix. And I think the thought process has been, at least with the people that I've spoken to, is although we disagree with this constant borrowing of money, which I still continue to disagree with, it has shown to provide stability to the marketplace. And if we can only begin to have the economy grow so that we can really start doing something about the debt, and it buys us some time, and that time proves to be helpful, well, then obviously it was a good strategy. That remains to be seen, but hopefully that'll be the outcome.
Yeah, you made it very clear that you are confident in the market, but you're not that confident on the economy.
Well, I think I don't know sometimes when I see these statistics that, inflation is not a problem, and then you actually talk to people. I mean, obviously different regions of the country are affected differently, but particularly in New York. I mean, you go to the grocery store. I never leave the grocery store, even with one small bag of items. It's not $100. So, I mean, I think there are things that are still very wrong and that need to be corrected, and I think there are still things that the data and the news is giving us information on that I don't feel is correct. But I don't think you can fight the trend of this market. The market is too resilient. It seems to have a bottom every time it comes in. It only comes in a little. I mean, I think we've had so many up days now. If you got a pullback of 100, 200 points, I don't think that would be monumental. But I think it certainly has acted very, very well. And it might be nice to be the least dirty shirt in the laundry, as they say, right? And it seems that the U.S. may be that.
Now, 1500, we are back on there, and it seems that probably the day will be driven this way for the S&P 500 to see if really that 1500 can become a support.
That would be nice. But the sort of rule of thumb is, it's got to bump up against it 3 times. Third time, if it goes through with any sort of real strength, you've got a good chance of that becoming a resistance level. So we'll have to see if that happens. How many times? I haven't even noticed. How many times has it gone through today? This is 2, right?
Yeah, but it's been, I don't know, maybe we were not watching, but it's been $14.99 for a long time. And yeah, well, definitely the second time, at least the second time. And mind you, it's at 10:49 right now. So, the day is long. Yeah, so it might be the day.
Yeah, well, that would be nice.
Thank you very much, Doreen, for being with us.
Thank you. Thank you very much.
E grazie a voi per l'attenzione, a domani.